The Middle East, a region known for a certain type of man. Let's just call them politically enthusiastic men. One of the pioneers of this type of man was arguably this guy, Gamal Abdel Nasser, the president of Egypt in the 1960s. In Egypt, Nasser had taken down the monarchy, banned all political parties, implemented a socialist system, repossessing the properties and assets of foreigners living in the country, banning communism and the Muslim Brotherhood, and he wanted to export that across the entire Arab world. A bit of a tall order. This is episode 13 of Egypt's recent history, and this is the story of Gamal Abdel Nasser. Now, the first country to get Nasser's attention was this one, Syria. Now, when it comes to Syria, we have to talk about Turkey. You know how Turkey and Syria sometimes have problems with each other? Well, it's not exactly new. Long story short, Syria hired somebody who was maybe a communist to its government. And the Turks didn't really like that, because they maybe didn't really like communism. Now that being said, what did they do? Well, they sent their troops to the Syrian border. And naturally, that begged the question, was Turkey about to invade Syria? That was a good question, and Egypt had an answer. Gamal Abdel Nasser sent Egyptian troops to Syria to shore up backing against the Turkish military action. And partly because of that, and also because of the threat of a US-Soviet nuclear war, the Turkish army eventually withdrew. But Syria saw what Nasser did and kinda liked it. Now, having said that, a group of Syrian military officers had a great idea. They would go to Cairo secretly and make a proposition to Nasser. That proposition was the unification of Egypt and Syria. Nasser probably thought about it for a bit and eventually said yes. So long as, of course, Syria gets rid of its parliament and political parties, and Nasser becomes the leader of this new unified state. And the Syrians agreed. Egypt and Syria were now one country, and this was their flag. I wonder where we've seen that before. Anyways, the Arab world was on its road to unification. Egypt and Syria were unified. For them, that was great. There was a problem. Nasser, as I said in the previous video, did not like two things. First was monarchies, and second was the British. Now, if you're the king of Iraq or Jordan, then that's a bit of a problem, because Nasser was now on your western and northern border and really did not like that you were friends with the British. Now, if you're the king of Iraq specifically, what do? You go to your cousin, King Hussein of Jordan, and make your own unification, a sort of counter-unification. Jordan and Iraq became one country for like 6 months. 6 months because later that summer, a group of people called the Free Officers overthrew and mutilated the Iraqi king. And with that, Iraq was on better terms with Egypt, for now at least. So that was Iraq and Syria, which are, of course, quite central to the Middle East. Nasser's influence would reach another country, however. It's called Lebanon. And things in Lebanon were about to get spicy. This was its president, Camille Chamoun. Chamoun and Nasser, to put it nicely, disagreed. Chamoun, after all, kinda liked the British. So that being said, Nasser, with help from his new Syrian friends, began supporting Chamoun's opponents. And eventually, one thing led to another, and Lebanon was in a civil war. See, that was a problem, not just for Lebanon, but also America. Nasser was not just Nasser, he was also a Soviet ally. That means that in Iraq, Syria, and now Lebanon, it wasn't just Nasser who was spreading his influence, it was also the Soviet Union, and America couldn't accept that. So with that in mind, America sent troops to Lebanon to back President Chamoun. Having entered Lebanon's civil war, America negotiated with Nasser, and the two agreed that this man, Fuad Shahab, would be the country's new president, and long story short, he would mostly partner with Nasser. Nasser was quite a popular figure, and his influence was spreading, but also he had his limits. Remember the coup in Iraq that took down its king? Their new leaders, especially Abdul Karim Qasim, were not on good terms with Nasser, and Nasser would back several attempts against the new Iraqi regime. At the same time in Damascus, the Syrians were getting a bit annoyed. The issue was that Nasser gave the Egyptians political advantages and priority in Syria and created a police state led by Abdul Hamid al-Sarraj. And there were also some socialist policies that he copied from Egypt, which didn't exactly go down well with the Syrians. Syria eventually left in 1961. Nasser's influence was coming loose. Still though, he would continue his international efforts. His longtime backing for the Algerian rebels, for example, would contribute to their independence in 1962. And on top of that, Nasser would make quite the effort to support a myriad of African anti-colonial groups, sometimes only diplomatically, and sometimes militarily and financially. Gamal Abdel Nasser, unfortunately for many people, wasn't going anywhere. Now so far we've covered Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Algeria, and the rest of Africa, but there's one country that gave Nasser a really hard time. That country was called Yemen, or North Yemen to be specific. North Yemen was a monarchy, already a no-no for Nasser from the get-go. But then in 1962, a pro-Nasser revolution overthrew the monarchy. The thing is, however, the Yemeni monarchy did not surrender. Yemen's monarch went to the north and fought the rebellion, and the nation was in a state of civil war. As for Nasser, he would back the rebels. But there was a slight problem. Nasser had made some serious enemies, and one of them was named Saudi Arabia. The Saudis certainly did not want Nasser on their southern border, and so they backed the Yemeni monarchy against Nasser's growing influence. Gamal Abdel Nasser, in response, sent thousands of Egyptian troops to Yemen, up to 130,000 by 1967, and the war was brutal. The Yemen war became, as Nasser himself put it, my Vietnam. Egypt would be mired in it for years. Meanwhile, Iraq and Syria went through a few more revolutions and coups d'etats and eventually thought about bringing back Arab unification. But then, Nasser's relationship with the Syrians deteriorated, and so that idea was out the window. As for Iraq, however, by 1964, it was finally on good terms with Nasser. It was under the leadership of this man, Abdul Karim Qasim. But then, Arif had a nice idea. What if we liberalized the economy and became less socialist? Nasser didn't quite appreciate that, and the two countries fell out again. It was also around this time that Nasser helped create the Palestine Liberation Organization in 1964. So by this point, Nasser was not in the best position, but he still had influence, and that influence would matter, because coming up was a war, or more so, a defeat. A defeat of such massive proportion that it would eventually lead to the end of Nasserism. That, however, is the next episode. So until then, thank you for watching.